You saw two hearts on the way in. One burning bright, one barely lit. The only difference between them was the door each man breathed through. In 1886, a small Apache band, fewer than 40 people, stayed ahead of an army across some of the driest country on this continent. Almost a year. They could not be caught. The trackers who finally questioned them kept landing on one detail. It had nothing to do with their legs. It was something they did with their breath. The same thing that decides which of those two hearts is yours. And most men reading this are breathing the wrong way at this exact moment. Not during sport, at the desk, in the car, asleep. The dim heart isn't a disease. It's a habit, repeated a few thousand times a day for 40 years. Before any history, prove it to yourself. Close your mouth, breathe in slowly through the nose only, and notice where the air seems to land. Lower, heavier, quieter. That single breath is the whole method in miniature. The Apache didn't invent it, they trained it. Stay, I'll show you the chemistry, then the way in. Right now, is your mouth open, even slightly? Be honest. Most men sit with it parted and never notice. Hold that observation. We'll come back to what it costs. Before we go deeper, I want to know who's in the room. 2 things in the comments: your age and where you're watching from. This breath crossed a desert and more than a century to reach you. Let's see how far it's traveled now. The legend says they moved as much as 70 miles in a day, on foot, in heat that breaks horses. Take the number loosely. Take the reputation seriously. Even their pursuers wrote about the endurance. These were people for whom efficiency wasn't a hobby, it was survival. Here's the part the trackers reported, and the part the breath world later seized on. In training, the runners are said to have carried a mouthful of water and kept it there, unswallowed, the entire run. You cannot breathe through your mouth with a mouthful of water, so the water was never the point. It was a lock. It forced every breath through the nose, mile after mile, until the nose became the only door the body knew. You don't need the water, you need the lock, and I'll give you a simpler one later. So what does the nose do that the mouth can't? Start with the bright heart. Inside the bones around your nose sit the paranasal sinuses. Their lining releases a gas continuously, nitric oxide. Breathe through the nose, and you carry that gas into the lungs on every inhale. Breathe through the mouth, and you bypass it completely. Nitric oxide widens blood vessels and matches airflow to blood flow inside the lung. Plain version, the same lungful of air gives up more of its oxygen when it arrives carrying nitric oxide. The bright heart isn't getting more air, it's getting more out of the air. The mouth breather throws that bonus away. Every breath, every day, for decades. Now the part almost everyone has backwards. The urge to breathe, that pull to gasp, is not triggered by low oxygen. It's triggered by rising carbon dioxide. Your brainstem watches CO2, not O2. The mouth breather flushes CO2 out fast in big, open-mouthed breaths. His alarm grows touchy. It fires early. He breathes more, delivers less. The nose is a narrower door. It slows the exhale. CO2 sits a little higher. Train that for weeks, and the alarm resets. And here is the paradox worth keeping. A higher tolerance for carbon dioxide means easier oxygen release into your muscles, not less. The Apache runner wasn't oxygen-starved. He was carbon dioxide calm. That calm is what all day without tiring is actually made of. Test your alarm now. Breathe normally through the nose. After a normal outbreath, gently pinch the nose and count the seconds until the first real urge to breathe. Not the maximum, the first urge. Remember that number. It's your baseline. In a few weeks, it climbs. and you'll feel the difference on every hill. Post it below right now, your first urge count, and your age beside it. I want to see how this holds across the decades. The mouth pulls air with the chest and shoulders, shallow, upper, urgent. The nose, because it offers resistance, recruits the diaphragm, the broad muscle beneath the lungs that draws air into the deep, blood-rich base. Resistance is the load. Every nasal mile is a quiet rep for the one breathing muscle that fades with age. Strengthen it, and the whole engine runs longer before it strains. This isn't only desert lore. Recreational runners who spent months on nasal breathing were tested against their own mouth breathing. They held the same peak oxygen uptick, same ceiling, while moving roughly a fifth less air to do it. Same engine. A fifth less fuel burned just to breathe. That is the definition of economy. And economy is exactly what lets a body keep going long after a less efficient one has quit. Not a bigger tank, a cleaner burn. Now the man at the desk. You're not evading an army, but you're running one long race, the one that decides how you age. Decades of mouth breathing keep the nervous system a notch above rest, the sleep shallow, the daytime energy leaking out the corners of an open mouth, the dim heart. The fix costs nothing and adds no minutes to your day. You already breathe. You're just using the wrong door. Here's the way in. 3 steps, building. This is where the dim heart starts to brighten. Step 1, reclaim the door. For the rest of today, whenever you catch the mouth open, desk, phone, walking, close it. That's the entire instruction. Awareness first. Notice it now. Close it now. Step 2, the daily 2 minutes. Once a day, sit. In through the nose, slow, 4 counts. Out through the nose, 6 counts. The long exhale is deliberate. It lets CO2 settle and teaches the alarm to relax. 2 minutes. That's the dose. Not 2 hours, 2 minutes. Step 3, carry it into effort. On your next walk, keep the mouth closed the whole way, even up the hill where you'd normally crack it open. When you finally must open it, you've found your edge. The edge is exactly where the adaptation lives. No mouthful of water needed. The closed mouth is your lock. Day 1, it feels like not enough air. That feeling is the old alarm, not a real shortage. Trust the count. Day 7, that first urge number starts to climb. The hill stops forcing your mouth open. You notice you're not winded talking up the stairs. Day 30, it leaves practice and becomes background. The mouth stays closed at the desk on its own. Sleep deepens because the airway you trained by day stays chosen by night. The bright heart becomes the default, not a peak you reach, a baseline you live at. Check your mouth one more time. Closed now? Good. That small correction, repeated, is the whole inheritance the Apache left in the record. Not a secret, a discipline. 2 honest notes. If your nose is blocked, a cold, allergies, a deviated septum, you'll fight this. Clear the nose first. If it never clears, see someone. And nasal breathing won't let you outrun an army or hand you stamina you didn't build. What the record actually shows is economy. More from each breath, a calmer system, a trained diaphragm. That's enough. We don't need the myth to make the case. The chemistry stands on its own. So, where is this from? Not a lab. From people who had no margin for waste, who turned breath into a tool of survival and passed the result down in story until the trackers wrote it into the record. The same instinct shows up in the Tarahumara of the canyons, in the Tibetan breath holders, in the freedivers. Different deserts, same closed door. Tell me which one to decode next. The Tarahumara runners, the Tibetan Tumo breath, or the freedivers? Most asked wins the next upload. The Army never solved it because they watched the legs. The answer sat 3 inches higher, behind a closed mouth. Nitric oxide on the inhale, carbon dioxide held calm, a diaphragm doing the quiet work. That's the bright heart. And there's a deeper layer. The extra oxygen the nose delivers has to go somewhere, into the tiny engines inside your cells that decide how tired you feel and how fast you age. I mapped those engines in the last decode. The breath opens the door. That video shows the room it opens into.